Dr. Sivaram Pillai is a Ph.D. in biochemistry and is a co-founder of Proklean Technologies, a green chemical startup. Proklean uses probiotics as the base to produce a whole range of sustainable chemicals. It uses a unique approach in which a consortia of microbes are used to produce green chemicals in an energy efficient and in a resource efficient way with very little waste. Proklean's green chemicals today find use in industrial, commercial, and in the residential sectors. Proklean is one of the very few successful green chemical startups from anywhere in India. And interestingly, all its founders were over 50 years old when they founded the startup. Now that must be pleasing to many of you with a few grey hairs. Dr. Sivaram Pillai from Proklean Technologies.
So Sivaram Pillai is my name. Probably the oldest guy in this room. 70. Anybody above 70?
Oh, cosmetics plays a role today, difficult to say.
So
the audio will not be done in the video, so you have to have a mic.
I think it will be better.
is it?
It will not get recovered.
Good point.
Okay. I don't like these contraptions, but yeah. So I became an entrepreneur in the year 2009 when I was 56 years old. And the motivation to become an entrepreneur was because we wanted to do something interesting. I met my co-founder, Chandrasekhar, those days through a social media platform called Yahoo Groups. The fact that many of you may not know about Yahoo Groups is an indication of how old I am, right? But we met and interestingly, we had read the same book without meeting each other. And this guy sitting in the US introduced us through this Yahoo group, and we met each other and spoke about the same book. And we felt that we can do something interesting to reduce pollution around us. Chandra at that time was in the leather business, and he was creating pollution. So he wanted to do something about it. So our ideas matched and we started to experiment. We had access to a very special microbial culture, a consortium of microbes which we sourced from the US, from a vendor. I will talk about this a little later also as to the importance of doing things right in a startup journey, the mistakes we made. And so we started off, and first generation entrepreneur, Chandra was also first generation entrepreneur. And as we went along for about 3 years, we were only investing, and there was no revenue coming from it, and there was no scaling happening. And one day, in the initial days, we were servicing sewage treatment plants. That was the business where we started. And a large automobile manufacturing facility outside Chennai, we were managing their sewage treatment plant, which was not working well, so we were delivering results in that. And in one of the customer visits, the maintenance guy, took us across the shop floor. And we walked across, and while we were walking, he said, in this shop floor, there is a lot of oil getting spilled. And today we are using kerosene to clean it. And our buyers, who are mainly large multinational auto corporations across the globe, they don't like it. Every time they come tell us that you have to find an alternative to kerosene. You can't clean this floor with kerosene. Can you do something about it? And so Chandra and I went back to the lab, and lab meaning a corner of his tannery, and we started experimenting, and that was the aha moment. I would say in a better lingo, the pivot happened at that time. And we came up with a formulation which was able to remove oil from the floors. But a couple of weeks later, we got a call from the maintenance guy saying, yeah, it is working pretty well. There's only one problem. The shop floor workers are now saying the whole place smells of beer. So that's not acceptable to us. So you need to do something about it. And that's the place where we started experimenting. And soon we discovered we had built a manufacturing process, a platform, using which we could make very interesting biodegradable, non-toxic surfactants, which could replace chemical surfactants in multiple industries. So we started with removing oil from the floor. Then we started asking questions: if we can remove oil from the floor, why not remove fat from animal skin, or from oil from fabrics which are being made in the textile manufacturing facility. And that's where the whole idea that we had come up with something very interesting, which is a large commercial potential, which could be competitive to the existing chemical options. We discovered that at the time. That was the aha moment. And soon we started acquiring customers. When I say soon, all this took about 3.5 years. Okay. So in the initial days, I think the key thing was to be able to survive and come up with a value proposition which has a commercial potential, which can compete with existing technologies, and can do it in a way, what was described in the introduction, that we were using 98% less energy than a competitor would make a similar product. We were using 99% less water than a competitor would make a similar product. In this journey of 12 years, we have saved, or we have prevented about 15,000 tons of carbon dioxide from being released into the atmosphere. Not a lot. Narsi talked about the challenges of decarbonization, but we have done our bit. More importantly, we have prevented 15,000 tons of chemicals being dosed into the atmosphere by all these industries. So that was the initial stages. I would also, the people are here listening to, I understand you are here to take something away from these stories, right? You want to see how it can help you, right? So I want to talk a little bit about some of the mistakes I made. In the initial stages, when you are trying to build a startup with bootstrapped capital, that is your own money, you don't have too much money. In those days, I thought we were already working in corporates, we have a lot of experience. So contracts could be evaluated by ourselves. So we signed a contract with one of the critical vendors in 2009. I'm still today regretting why I did not go to a good lawyer. I can tell you the difference was only a capital P versus a small p in the agreement. That has made a lot of difference to the way I deal with the vendor today. He is catching me by my neck only because I was not able to differentiate between the capital P and the small p. So one of the biggest mistakes I made was not to use experts in areas where you don't have expertise. I would strongly relate to this and say that don't think you are an expert in every area. You have your expertise. Please get other experts to give you inputs when it is required. That day, I was not able to visualize that my company in 10 years would become, let's say, 300 crores in valuation. So I didn't think the impact it will have on me 10 years later. I'm telling you, please don't make those kind of mistakes. So I would say the biggest mistake I made was not to use experts in areas where I don't have expertise. How am I doing on time?
I don't know, doesn't matter. That's pretty good. Sounds good, go ahead.
Yeah. In the startup journey, there are many phases. In the initial stages, I would say the strength you require, the core focus you have to be putting your attention on is very different from when you are in the growth phase. What was my biggest strength that time and now? I would like to share a couple of thoughts there. In the initial stages, I described to you how we came up with the platform, the manufacturing process we use today, which is our core strength. So, my biggest contribution to my company was my knowledge of biochemistry, my previous experience of making formulations, my experience related to fermentation, the very core of designing a fermentation system which is able to operate in room temperature, in non-aseptic conditions, with capital cost 20% compared to the competitors, was all the biggest strength. That made the whole thing viable. But 4 or 5 years later, when we were beginning to grow, when we started acquiring customers, we were taking away customers from multinational companies. Multinational chemical corporations are our competitors. We were able to do that basically because we had a great product and a value proposition. But the point I wanted to make was that in initial days, the biggest contribution, my strength, which I could add to the startup, was my knowledge of biochemistry and my knowledge of experience in fermentation, etc. But later on, it is my ability to relate to people, lead a team of people. I played the role of the CEO from 2012 to 2020. But then we were reaching a stage, we had to bring in a professional team. If you don't scale the business, where did we start? Sorry, I'm going up and down. We started with an objective to make a difference to the world around us. We wanted to reduce pollution, we wanted to achieve reduction in the carbon emission, and all that could happen only when more and more of our products get used, right? So, the whole objective of starting the startup could only be achieved only when we scale up and make a profitable venture out of it. Otherwise, you can do small things. To the extent I can go and do something. But if you want to make a sustainable, long-term difference, you have to build an organization which will exist and grow even after you. So I have to build a startup which is not dependent on me. That was the biggest challenge, and therefore the skill I brought into it was the ability to be transparent, honest, and speak from my heart to the people who came to work with us. Today we have a professional team. We are 150 people in the company. We have a professional team of around 10 people. We have the best of team, I would say. My CEO has been hired from McKinsey. He is a product of AC College of Engineering here and MBA from Bharatdasan Institute of Management. Spent 15 years in BASF and 5 years in McKinsey. So we looked for people like that. How do you attract these people? You attract them if you tell them the truth. If you're honest with them, you share with them your vision. We are here to make a difference to the world, but we want to do that by building a successful, profitable company. That attracts them. We have best of team. I have a COO who's from ISB, who's worked with Deloitte before. So how do you attract these kind of people? By sharing your vision and being completely truthful and honest with them. Because if they come in, if they see something different, communicate with people and sell the story and bring them on board and make them part of the journey. In the journey of startup, especially if you are a founder, you are at the top, it's a very difficult journey. You must be prepared for that. You must have a reason to do that. If you don't have a reason beyond a financial reason, you are likely to fail. I know Chandra. Chandra has been at it 20 years now, Chandra, or more?
10 years.
10 years. I know how much he has struggled. In every forum I have seen him coming. So you have to have a cause which is far beyond the financial objective. If not, you will leave and go. I want to just maybe end by sharing my experience in 2015, Chennai floods. We were in a location where all our inventory, everything was production, everything was submerged in 9 feet of water. We lost everything, all the inventory. Our insurance money was not forthcoming. We struggled for 1.5 years. We lost all our customers. We started in 2009, and in 2015 it was back to basics, building from scratch again. For 1.5 years we struggled, and the journey we kept going because the purpose was right in front of us. If it was a financial thing, I'm telling you, we would have closed that day and gone off. Because you can imagine in 2015, I was almost 62. Why would I want to struggle? Money is not the cause. My family is not depending on the money which I am bringing from this business. So why should I continue? I continued because the purpose was bigger than money. And I'm telling you, you need to have a purpose bigger than money. You need to have co-founders with you who can take you on this journey and who can give you the strength to work with you. In 2015, we've survived, not only survived, we grew again, we attracted talent, we attracted investors to come on board and build this business to the level we are today. I didn't imagine we would be able to do it, but only because the purpose was there and the right co-founders were there with us who believed in us. So that's my story. Thank you.